All right, ladies and gentlemen, so today I'm going to be showing you how to do the first lesson in our unit on Google Slides. In this lesson, we're going to be setting up our slide deck. This is a skill that you will use either in high school, in college, or in a future job or career. So even though the content of our slide deck is about culture and food, you can apply the skills that you are learning to any presentation that you will be doing. So in the past, you may have done a presentation without much direction, just kind of free-falling it. With this activity, I am going to actually give you specific steps. So those steps will be shown in this video. Also, you will be given an instruction sheet that will share with you each step. If you follow each step in order, as it says to do in order, then this will be easy for you to complete and you will get the maximum number of points on the assignment. With regards to points, if you are on Canvas and you scroll down to the rubric, you can pause this tutorial and take a look at the rubric. What you should notice is that this assignment is worth 75 points. You're being graded on each slide. If the slide requires an image, and not all of them do, then you'll be graded on the image and the text. If the slide does not, then it will just be on the text itself or the content. You're also being graded on the reflection questions, which is a 7th slide, and then overall neatness and organization, effort and completion, and then submitting this correctly, because you are not doing what you've done in the past, which is to submit a PDF. This time you are submitting a URL. So I do encourage you to pause and take a look at that rubric to see what it is exactly I'm going to be looking for. So I do have an example slide deck. If you did not finish your notes for your chosen dish, then you're going to be doing the tabbouleh assignment or the tabbouleh research that I created as an example, so that you still have something to use to create a slide deck. Okay? So before we get started, I want to go to my Intro to Computers folder. So get yourself to your Intro to Computers folder. And then we're going to go to new folder, and we're going to call this My Slides. And then we're going to click Create. The purpose of these tutorials is for you to pause at any time, so I definitely encourage you to pause frequently, complete the steps, or re-watch the steps if you didn't understand them the first time. I'm going to go ahead and double click the My Slides folder to open it up. And then if I go to my instructions, okay, first and foremost, it tells me to have my completed research handout, which I do here. I have my completed research handout ready. If you don't have it, please make sure that you get that, okay? We have some common problems like selecting text or deleting a box. All of that information is here. You'll notice that in a slide deck, a lot of the tool buttons at the top in the toolbar are going to be the same as in Google Docs. So some of this will be review for you. I'm also going to be showing you how to align text boxes and images, okay? So step-by-step instructions, do these in order. We've already opened our drive. We've already gone to the correct folder. So now what we're going to do is we're going to create a new Google slide. And it tells us that we're going to have to click on Untitled Presentation, and we're going to name it My Culture. And then whatever your dish was, in my case, the dish was tabbouleh. If you didn't finish your research notes, your dish is also tabbouleh, okay? So I'm going to go to my slides, and I'm going to click on New, Google Slides. Okay, I'm not going to worry about what this looks like right now. I'll worry about that part later. But where it says Untitled Presentation, I'm going to type My Culture on a plate, tabbouleh, and then I'm going to hit Return so that it will save. So again, I encourage you to pause this tutorial, complete that step, and then come back. Okay, I'm going to go back to my instructions. I'm going to make these a little bit bigger. I've already renamed my presentation, so now the next thing I need to do is choose a theme. Okay, on the right-hand side, there's themes. You can click on any theme that you would like. Choose one that is easy to read and also, is on topic. So for example, although, I'm going to scroll down here, although the alien is cute, it doesn't have anything to do with my topic, so I'm not going to choose that one. I've seen a lot of people choose, let's see if I can find it here. There's one on here that has shoes. This doesn't have anything to do with shoes, so maybe that's not the best one for you to choose, okay? So make sure you're choosing one that's going to be fairly easy to read, a little bit creative, but not so much that it takes you away from what we're learning about here, which is food and culture, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and click one. I'm going to select one here. Maybe I'll choose this one. And if I like this slide, I'm just going to click on the first one. Now I have an extra slide here. I don't want that, so I'm going to click on it and I'm going to hit delete. If I decide that I don't like this topic, I can click on the slide over on the left-hand side and then hit delete. Okay, and maybe I don't like that one, so I want to find something else. I'm going to choose this one. Okay, it's pretty simple but very straightforward. So here I have my theme. I do not want to click insert all slides. I only want to click on the first one. So go ahead and pause this tutorial and select your theme, and then when you're done, X out of here and come back. Okay, so now I'm going back to my instructions, and it says we want to have on our title slide. If the slide's not already a title slide, we're going to click the slide and then apply layout and title slide. So what that means is it's already a title slide, but if it wasn't, I would click on the slide, I would go to layout, and I would find the one that says, here it says cover, it doesn't say title slide, but that's the same thing, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and keep this one as my cover. And in the big text, I'm going to type the name of my dish. So in the big text, I'm going to type tabbouleh. And then in the little text, I'm going to type culture on a plate by, and then my first and last name. Okay. So my subtitle is probably going to be this one. But it is pretty big. So I'm going to change the font size to a little bit smaller because this one is 64 and this one is also 64. So I want to maybe make it half of that. Maybe I'll make that 32. Okay. Now I do have some extra boxes here like this one. If I click on the box and hit delete, it's gone. Okay. I can tell I've clicked on the box because it turns into the 4 arrows or the crossed arrows, the crosshair of arrows. Delete. I don't need any of these extra boxes. So I'm going to go ahead and delete all of these extra boxes. I'm not adding a picture because the instructions didn't say anything about adding a picture. Maybe I want to highlight some text to change the font or the font size. Or maybe I want to bold something, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to bold my name. Okay, I have my same tool bold button. Maybe I want to change the font on these to something different. Maybe impact. And maybe I'll make just my name a little bit bigger. Okay, maybe I want to change this as well. Maybe I want to make this a little bit bigger because I've got all of this empty space that I want to deal with. Okay. Maybe I don't like my name all the way down at the bottom. I can click on the box to make the crosshairs. And then I can go to the alignment and I can click middle, so it's in the middle instead. Okay, so these are all changes that I can make to my title slide before I move on to the next step. Okay. So that's step number 1. In the next segment, we'll go through step number 2, which would be adding a slide where we will write our introduction. So that will be step number 2 in the next section. Okay, so we've finished slide number 1, our title slide, and we're moving on to slide number 2, our introduction. So to start with these first 4 steps, we're going to click on the new slide button. We're going to make sure that our layout is title and body. In the title, we're going to type introduction, and in the text box, we're going to type our 4 to 6 sentence paragraph. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my presentation. I'm going to click on the new slide button, the plus sign, and it gives me this layout, but this is not the layout that I want. It looks like it's another title slide layout. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the Apply Layout button, the Apply Layout tool, and I'm going to look for title and body, which is right here. The instructions told me that the title needs to be Introduction. And then in this area, I'm going to type my paragraph. So my paragraph comes from slide number 2 on my handout, my research handout. And all I'm going to do is turn these sentences into a paragraph. Okay. I need to make sure that I don't just copy exactly what I have here because, for example, you don't start a sentence with the word because. So I need to make sure that these are actual sentences. What many of you did was just wrote down a few words, which was fine for note-taking, but now you need to turn those words into actual sentences. So the best thing to do is to take your prompt and turn that into a statement. So the prompt is a question, change it into a statement. What is the name of your dish? My dish is called whatever your dish is, and where does it come from? And it comes from, okay? So the easiest thing to do is to turn this question from the prompt into a statement using your information from your notes. And then those statements put together into a paragraph, okay? So here is my example here. I have my paragraph here. Now it looks like I'm going to add a picture, but I'm going to get to that in just a second. As you can see, the paragraph takes up the bulk of my slide deck because that's the most important thing I want people to see. So I'm going to go back to my slide deck here, and because I've already done it, I'm just going to copy and paste. Okay. First of all, it's very small. You do not want your text to be that small on a slide deck because you want the people who are reading or paying attention to your slide deck to be able to actually read the information, okay? If I go back to my title slide, it looks like I changed my font. No, I didn't. This font is called Space Grotesque, so I want to make sure that this font as well is Space Grotesque. Okay, I want it to be bigger, so I'm going to go ahead and change the font size. And then I want it to be centered inside of this text box, so I'm going to go ahead and align it to be in the middle. Okay, any words like I did with the example that I want to have bold, I'm going to go ahead and bold them if I want them to stand out. So Tabbouleh, I want it to be bold. Middle Eastern, I want it to be bold. Lebanon, and so forth. So I'm going to go ahead and go through, and I'm going to make additions or changes to my text so that it is a bit more unique and stands out. Okay. Now if I go back to my instructions sheet, what it says I want to do next is I want to line space it so that it's 1.5. So I may end up actually changing the font size because it might go off of the slide, and anything that's off the slide can't be read by the viewer. So you have a couple of options for selecting text. Those steps are also at the top of your instructions page. I can where is it? I can click and drag over the words to highlight them. So that's one thing that I can do. I can click and drag. The other thing too is if I want to make a change to everything that's inside of the text box, if I click so that the arrows are there and the box is blue, so the arrows are there and the box is blue, okay, then I can go to my change, whatever it is that I want to change, and it will change the whole paragraph. So as you can see now, it's too big. There's some text that's bleeding into my title, and I don't want that. I can resize this a bit here, okay? And now it all fits onto the slide, and it's perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and move on. So going back to my instructions sheet, we've just changed our line spacing to 1.5, and now we're going to insert an image. So I'm going to click Insert Image, and I'm going to search Stock and Web, and I'm going to search for an image of my dish. So I'm going to just click on the box anywhere over here, so I'm no longer in the text box, and I'm going to go to Insert, Image, Stock and Web. I'm going to type tabbouleh, and then I'm going to look at my stock images here, okay? And let's just pick one that we see. I'm going to go ahead and pick this one, okay? Now, there's a couple of things that I want to do to this image. First of all, there's a lot of blank space here that I don't think is necessary. So if I double click to get the black boxes, then I can crop my image from the corners as best as I can. And I want to try to make it as even as possible. So I'll start at the corners and then move to the edges to try to make things even, okay? So that looks good to me. I'm going to click somewhere outside on the slide, and then I want to center it, maybe make it a little bit bigger, and then I want to center align it so that it's centered with my text box here. So there's a couple of ways to do that. I'm going to click and drag until I see that red line. That red line tells me that this image is centered onto the slide exactly how I want it to be, okay? So I can do that. The other thing that I can do is click on the image, and I could go to Arrange, and I can go to Center on the Page, and I can center it vertically. And now it's vertically centered on my slide. If I want to resize it to take up some of that empty real estate that's on the slide, I can do it. I just want to make sure that it's still centered on the page. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing for my text box and see how that's going to look, because it might not look good, but let's see. Too close to the title, so I'm going to Command Z to get rid of that. And maybe instead of having my image centered on the slide, instead I want it centered with the text box. So if I click and drag until I see this red line, the red line doesn't go all the way to the edges, but it does go through the center of the text box. So that tells me that my image is now centered with my text box, and that's where I want it to be, okay? So going back to my instructions, I'm going to go ahead and insert an image. If your image is up in the corner, that's fine if that's the layout of your text and body. I think mine looks good exactly how it is, so I'm not going to change anything about it. So why don't you go ahead and pause the video if you haven't already and start slide number 2, and then we'll move on to slide number 3 in the next section. Alrighty, so we've just finished slide number 2. We're ready to move on to slide number 3, okay? With slide number 2, we made sure that we turned our notes from our research into a paragraph for the introduction. We have our paragraph of information about our dish that we've chosen. We have our introduction title at the top, and then we have an image. Yours may look something like this. We really focused in the last video, or the last section of the video, on how to crop and resize and move your image so that it's centered. Those instructions are also on the page here. We're resizing by clicking it once. Make sure that you're dragging those corner handles, those corners, so that it resizes evenly. Also cropping by dragging those black bars. So we now have our paragraph and our image on slide number 2 and are ready to move on to slide number 3. So for slide number 3, we're going to use those ingredients from our research. Okay. So we're going to take these ingredients and we're going to turn them into a bulleted list onto our slide deck. Now it tells us that we need to find the slide that says, that's a title and 2 columns. And we're going to title it ingredients. And then in the left column, we're going to type our bullet points, okay? And then that will be our list of ingredients. Our line spacing for this will be 1.15, all right? And then we're going to also insert an image that we're going to resize and crop. So we have our example here that's on your instruction page. Here's a larger view of that example here, okay? Now, as I'm working through this, if there's a text box that's on here that I don't want, I can just click on it so that it's the whole box and then hit delete. Oh, I mean, view only, I can't on that. But we'll get through that with this slide number 3. So with slide number 3, we're going to click on New Slide. So I'm going to click on New Slide. And it's giving me the exact same layout of the slide from the last time, but I don't want that. I want a title and 2 columns. So I'm going to go to Layout, and I'm going to look for Title and 2 columns. There we go, Title and 2 columns. Okay? It tells me that my title is going to be ingredients. So I'm going to go ahead and click on ingredients. Okay. It's looking like it's very close to the text where my ingredients are going to be. So I'm going to click on that box so that the whole box is highlighted, not just a cursor. So the arrows are there to let me know that I can do this next step. So I'm going to click. And then I'm going to go to my spacing here, and I'm going to click on middle. So now it's in the middle, which I like much better. Okay. And I'm going to do the same thing for the text. So I'm going to go to my alignment, and I'm going to go to middle. Now I'm adding a bulleted list. That's what the instructions tell me. So I'm going to click my cursor inside of the box, and I'm going to click on bulleted list. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to list each of these ingredients. So we have quinoa, okay. What else do we have? Parsley. So I'm just listing all of my ingredients, okay, and I'm going to continue to do that. I already have it done here, so I'm going to just Command C, and then I'm going to go back, and I'm going to paste because I've already done this. No sense in doing it twice. I'm going to change my font so that it matches all my others. Now the instructions also tell me that I need to click the line spacing so that it's 1.15. So I'm going to turn my cursor into an arrow. So now my entire box is highlighted, not just a cursor inside. And I'm going to go to line and paragraph spacing, and I'm going to change it to 1.5. Now this text is very small, and I've got a lot of empty space. So I'm going to go ahead and resize it so that it takes up a little bit more space. Okay. Now the next thing that I'm going to add per my instructions is I'm going to add an image, right? Which means I don't need another text box. So to delete it, I'm going to click on the text box, and I'm just going to hit delete. Okay. So let me show you again. If I'm somewhere on here and I don't need a text box or an image placement card or anything like that, I can just click on it so that I have the arrows there, and then I can hit delete, and now it's gone. I'm going to go back to insert image, stock and web. I still have my tabbouleh pulled up, so I want to find a good picture of tabbouleh. This one might be good. Nope, that's salsa. I don't want that. Let's try a different one. How about this one? Okay, now same for this one. There's a lot of dead space over here, so I'm going to double click. Those blue lines tell me that the picture size is the same width as the text box size. I like that, so I'm going to let go, and I'm going to keep that. Okay. Now I want to move it over a little bit so it's not so close to the edge. The red guidelines are helping me to move this. Okay, and then I want to make sure that it's lined up with my text box just like the other picture was. There we go, okay? So I'm using those red guidelines to help me as often as I can, all right? So making sure I have everything here. I have my slide, I have title in 2 columns, I have the title of ingredients, I have my bulleted list. It's been line spaced to 1.15, and I have my image that's been resized and cropped and moved on my page. Maybe I want to resize it just a little bit more. No, it's good the way it is. But again, these are those corner handles. Make sure you're only resizing from the corners. You're not resizing from the sides, because then your image will be smushed. So I can show you that right here. See, now it's smushed. That's not good, okay? So I'm going to Command Z to make sure that that isn't the case, all right? So now we have slide 3 number done. We can move on to slide number 4. I'm going to do that. We just finished up slide number 3, and we're ready to move on to our next instruction for slide number 4. So this is where we are going to insert our historical facts, okay? If I go to my example slide deck that I've already finished, here we have an example of that slide. So we're going to have a title, we're going to have a bulleted list, excuse me, and we're going to insert an image. This comes directly from our research for our historical facts, okay? Now, it tells me that what I need to do is click on New Slide, find layout that's title in 2 columns, title it historical facts, type my bullet points, and add an image. Okay, so what I would do is I could go to the plus sign. It's already got that layout for me because it's the layout that I just did. I could continue in this fashion and just do my bullet points, do exactly what I did for slide number 3. However, I'm going to click on this slide and I'm going to hit delete. And instead what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on my ingredients slide so that I have the blue box around the slide in the left-hand column. And what I'm going to do on my keyboard is do Command D as in dog. And as you can see, it duplicated that slide. Okay, the other thing that I can do, I'm going to delete that. I could also click on the slide in the left column, and I could do Command C and then Command V, and it will paste it, okay? So either one of those steps, either Command D to duplicate it directly after the slide you just finished, or Command C to copy and Command V to paste it. Either one will work, but because my setup is exactly the same between slide number 3 and slide number 4, this is going to make it that much easier. So now all I need to do is change my title, change my bullet points, and then insert a new image. So I'm going to change my title to historical facts. Okay, I'm going to choose a new image by clicking on the image from my previous slide, and then I'm going to replace the image from stock and web. So here I have my options. I'm going to pick another one that might go well with this. Let's choose this one here. Okay, perfect. All right, I don't feel like I need to make any changes to the sizing. I don't need to change anything about the alignment because it's already been centered. It's exactly like the previous slide. All I need to do now is change my bullets. So I'm going to go to my example. You're going to actually type them in, but because I already have it done, I'm not all about reinventing the wheel, so I'm just going to copy and paste them. So I copied, and then I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to paste without formatting. This is too big because these are sentences, not just words, so I need to change the sizing. I want to make sure I'm changing the sizing of all the text in the box. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the box itself, and then I'm going to resize it. Now, it shouldn't be any smaller than 18. So that is going to make me, it's going to force me to resize this image, even though I didn't think I had to in the beginning. Now, the reason why you don't want your text to be too small is because you want your viewers to be able to read it, okay? So it's still not going to fit, so I'm just going to play with resizing from the corners until I have all of my text within the text box and can be read. 18 should be the smallest that you go. Okay, now because I did have to resize it, I'm now going to have to realign it so that the image is aligned centrally with my text box. So I'm going to click and drag it. Okay, perfect. I already have my line spacing at 1.5 because that's what it was in slide number 3. Made my job so much easier, and so now I can move on to slide number 5. And if I look at my instruction, slide number 5 is almost the exact same as slide number 4 and slide number 3. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on slide number 4 because this is the longer text. So because it's the longer text, I know I'm not going to have to play with any of the resizing on this one. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to Command D to duplicate that slide. So from my historical facts, Command D to duplicate it. Again, the other thing I can do is click, Command C, and then Command V to paste it. I do need to go back to my instructions because I believe that I'm not supposed to have a picture of food. My image should be related to a cultural setting, a map, or something like that. So I'm going to look for a map of the Middle East instead of my map of, or another picture of my food. So again, if you just added food the way that I just did, change that. It shouldn't be the food on historical facts. It should be something related to the history of your area, like a map or something like that. So I'm going to go back to my historical facts. I'm going to make sure that slide number 4 is highlighted blue. And then I'm going to click on my image, and I'm going to replace the image with something from stock and web. And I'm going to go ahead and Middle East map. See if this is a good one here. It looks like it is, but I don't see the countries that I am looking for, so I'm going to Command Z to change it. Maybe I need to change my words to Lebanon. Since that's where my family's from, I'm going to change it to Lebanon and see if I can find a better image of it. Oh, see, that didn't work, so I need to go back to replacing my image here. Replace the image from stock and web. I'm just looking for something that's going to show Lebanon. So the reason why I keep clicking replace image and trying to find an image that way is because if I just add it in, it might fill up the whole slide the way it did that last time I tried to do it. Okay, this one should be okay. So I'm going to go ahead and also resize this one back to its original size by cropping it. And then I'm going to make sure that the alignment is good. Okay, so now I can move on to my next slide, slide number 5. For slide number 5, this time we are doing cultural facts, and we want to have an image that's related to a family meal or a celebration, a country or flag, something like that. And then we want to change our bullet points to our facts that were the cultural facts, okay? So cultural facts. And then, again, you'll be typing yours, but because I've already got this done, and for time, I'm just going to copy and paste for me. Okay, and again, we want to make sure that it's sized. It's way too big, but I'm still at 18, so I'm going to have to resize my picture and resize my text box. Maybe pull it down a bit. Perfect. And then I want to realign this. Okay. And then let's go to slide number 6. I have, again, my 5 cultural bullets. Oh, need to change that picture because this picture doesn't work. So replace image, stock and web, and maybe I'll do a Lebanese flag. Okay, and then I just want to make sure it's center aligned. Perfect. Okay. Now going to slide number 6. Again, we have the same thing where we're adding, this time it says title and body, but because we're adding an image, it looks like we don't need an image, so it looks like this was a mistake for me. So we're going to go ahead and do a title and body and then do our bullet points. But it seems like we could actually fiddle around with this and make it be the same thing and give ourselves less work. So I'm going to go to my slide deck. I'm going to click on slide number 5 in the left corner. I'm going to Command D. And now what I'm going to do is change this to sources. I'm going to delete by clicking on the picture and deleting it. Okay, and then I'm going to resize this text box so it fills up the majority of the slide. I want to make sure that it is center aligned on the page, so I'm going to click on the box and go to Arrange and center on the page horizontally. Okay, and then I'm going to add my sources. Now this should not be here. I did not follow directions. I'm going to go ahead and delete it later. I don't have permission to do that right now. Okay, and then I'm going to change this to my sources. And because I've got more empty space, I'm not adding a picture here. I can go ahead and click on the box so that I have the arrows, and I can make my text a little bit bigger. Okay, so those are slides 4, 5, and 6. The best thing to do is to not reinvent the wheel. If you've already got one created with the formatting that you like, with the formatting that works for your project, then all you have to do is either Command D to copy it, or you can Command C to copy and Command V to paste it. So Command D will duplicate it, Command C and Command V will copy and paste it. All right, so in our next section, we're going to talk about that final slide and then how to submit your work, because submitting your work is a little bit different. But do make sure that you have followed all of the instructions that go along on the instruction page. If you need to rewind the video, that's the whole point of this video, is to help you break the assignment into chunks. Alrighty, so we have finished the bulk of our slide deck at this point. The only thing that we have left is our resources. In the previous section of the video, we learned how we can make our job easier by copying and pasting. However, you do need to make sure that if there are specific changes, that you actually go back to the instructions and read them to know what those changes might be. So for example, if all of your slides have images of food, then you have not followed the directions, because we do have specific instructions for what kind of pictures you should be including. Okay, now the example that you have on your page for the sources has an image on the sources page. Do not include an image. So if you've included an image, make sure that you delete it, because that is not within the instructions and we're only working within our instructions. Okay, so now we have our final piece, which is the reflection questions. And with our reflection questions, we're going to include just our response in complete sentences. If you go back to the assignment page, you can see that it is going to be graded as its own grade, those reflection questions. And what we have to include is just a meaningful response to each of them. All right, so I'm going to go back to my instructions, and it says we are doing a title and a body. Okay, now I remember that I've already done a title and a body up at the top for my my introduction. So again, I am not up for reinventing the wheel. Anything that I can do to make my job easier, I'm going to go ahead and do it. So I'm going to go to my slide number 2 this time, and because I don't want my new slide to be directly after slide number 2, I'm not going to use Command D. This time I am going to use Command C, and then I'm going to make sure that I paste it after slide number 6. So Command C, and then I'm going to go down to slide number 6, and I'm going to Command V, and I'm going to paste it. All right? With the reflection questions, there are no pictures. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that image. And then I'm going to resize my text box. And I'm going to make sure that it is aligned in the center of the page horizontally. Okay? Now the instructions tell me again, I'm not going to make my job hard. I'm going to make my job easy. So if I've already created a slide, it's got all of the formatting that I need, then all I need to do is copy it, paste it, and then change the information according to the instructions. So I'm going to go to my instructions page here. And it says that for slide number 7, the title slide for the slide is going to be reflection. And then we're going to answer both of them. Okay, so I'm going to go here and I'm going to write reflection. On the example, it has reflection questions. That's fine as well. And then I want to delete this. Now my first word is bold, and I want the different responses, the subtitles for them to be bold as well, so I'm just going to leave it. I'm going to write reflection, question number 1, and then I'm going to take it off bold so that the rest of my response isn't bold, and I'm going to write my answer, and then I'm going to write, making it bold again, reflection, question number 2, and then unbold it, Command B as in boy to unbold, and then write my response. Okay. Oops, looks like I have a spelling error. I want to make sure I fix that. All right. So again, don't reinvent the wheel. You've already done it, but still make sure that you've followed the directions. You're writing your reflection questions. You do not have to copy the question, just write the response. Again, don't copy the question. Just write your response. Make sure that your answers are clear and thoughtful. This is a graded slide, and you should have both of your questions answered on slide number 7. In this final section of the video, I'm going to show you how to submit it. You are not submitting a PDF, you are submitting a web URL. So if I go to my instructions sheet, I want to first make sure that everything is correct. So if I go to my presentation, I'm going to click on slide number 1, and then I'm going to click on slideshow, and I'm going to go through and make sure. Now, what am I looking for? I'm looking to make sure that my text is big enough for my viewer to read, but not so big that anything goes off of the page. If it goes off of the page, then my viewer can't read it. It's not on the slide. I want to make sure that my pictures are not squished, that I've resized them from the corners, that they're center aligned, and that everything is neat. So I'm just looking through all of my stuff here. Okay, perfect, and then my reflection responses. So I'm going to go ahead and click escape on my keyboard. Okay, and I feel confident in what I'm submitting here, that everything is neat and exactly as the directions follow. Okay, no images are too small, no text is too big, my spacing looks good, everything looks great. Okay, so now to turn it in, I'm going to click share in the top right hand corner. I'm going to make sure that the setting is LBUSD, anyone in this organization. And then I'm going to change the permission to commenter. So that's going to allow me, as your instructor, to make comments onto your slide deck. Okay? And then I'm going to copy the link, and I'm going to paste that link into Canvas. All right? So let's do those steps. I'm going to go to share. Now, mine's different because I'm using an outside website, but you should have one that says anyone in LBUSD or LBUSD. Whatever one that's LBUSD, that's the one you want to click. Okay, and then you want to change them from viewer to commenter. So once you have general access changed to LBUSD and commenter, then you're going to click on copy link. And then you're going to go all the way down to the bottom of the assignment. So here's the assignment here. You want to go all the way down to the bottom, and you are going to paste it here. Okay? Once the submit assignment button clicks, then you're going to click that, and you are ready to move on. So if you can see, one of your grades is for submitting this correctly. So if you've submitted the assignment and I can view it, then you'll get max points, okay? So if it works and I can view it, but I can't comment, then I'm going to take points off, all right? So you do want to make sure that you have it so that the permissions are set correctly according to the instructions, all right? So I must be able to open and comment on your slides using the link if you want full credit, okay? So again, make sure that you have your final checklist, that you've got everything that you're supposed to have. As a reminder, there should be no picture on the last slide, and there should be no picture on the first slide, okay? Everything should be spaced correctly. If you have spots where you can make little tweaks and improvements, that's great. If there are any extra text boxes, then you need to delete them, okay? So again, if you click on that and then hit delete, then you can delete that box, all right? So if you have any questions, just make sure that you first try watching the video again. If you still don't understand what you're doing, then you can go ahead and raise your hand and I will come by and I will help.